Hello YouTube, how are you today? This is a story of Martha Laura Granados, an immigrant woman from Saltillo, Coahuila, Mexico, who abused the Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, by pretending to be in love with an American legal resident. Martha prostituted herself for him for 3 years, deceiving him, making him believe her intentions were honest until he married her. She then falsely accused him of domestic violence and rape in order to get to a VAWA-funded shelter and file a VAWA self-petition to obtain a green card. Martha is now enjoying a vast number of social benefits, all paid for by the US taxpayer, which include free housing, certification, employment, paid relocation, and free education for her sons, and an express immigration proceedings for a green card and a US citizenship for herself, her sons, and her relatives. Reference: Martha Laura Granados, date of birth November 14, 1966, the immigration prostitute. There is a law in this country, the Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, that provides motives and incentives for an immigrant woman to prostitute herself, lie, deceive, and abuse an American citizen in order to convince him to marry her. And then VAWA provides motives and incentives for her to falsely accuse the innocent American citizen of domestic violence, rape, and abuse. The VAWA immigration loophole. The formula is simple. Pretend you're in love with an American citizen or a legal resident, get them to marry you, then a few months later start making unsupported accusations of abuse. The accusations will stick even if completely unsupported by facts. In no time you'll be on a path to a permanent residency and with plenty of help from the US taxpayers. The innocent US spouse often pays a heavy price in terms of psychological distress, legal bills, damage to reputation, and in many cases even a criminal record. Martha's story. My name is Martha Laura Granados. I was born in Saltillo, Coahuila, Mexico, on November 14, 1966. My mother, Andrea, is a tough and difficult woman, and during my childhood with her, I developed personality traits known as Narcissistic Personality Disorder, or NPD. During my early 20s, while I was attending college studying psychology, I got involved with a man a few years younger than me, and I became pregnant. Obligated by Mexican customs, we were soon married, and which was the beginning of a horribly abusive 17-year-long marriage. I had 3 sons with this man, and in the early 2000s he was offered a job in Lawrenceville, Georgia, USA. And we all moved. We ended up in a house that was only in his name. Our relationship continued to be reciprocally abusive. In 2005, I found out that he had been cheating on me, and I began to provoke him. My provocations lasted some months, and he finally lost his temper and hit me. I asked my son to call the police, which he did, and my husband got arrested. After my husband's arrest, I filed for a temporary protective order so that I could stay in his house with my sons and use his SUV. He then filed for divorce. I knew that when the divorce would become final, I would have to leave his house. I had no place to go, and I didn't have legal papers to stay in the US. I discussed my situation with my friends Jacqueline and Abraham Bausa from Venezuela, and a plan came together. I would pretend to be in love with a legal resident or an American citizen. I would move in with him. I would deceive him so that he would marry me. Then I would falsely accuse him of domestic violence and get into a VAWA shelter. The shelter would help me file a VAWA self-petition for a U.S. green card. We would then exploit the U.S. social system, paid for by the U.S. taxpayer, by pretending to be domestic violence victims. My sons and I would have the green card in no time. I signed up on a dating site, Univision Amor y Amigos, with the screen name April 6914. My plan was to start dating American citizens or legal residents. I would pretend to be in love with them. I would move in with him. I would deceive him so that he would marry me. Then I would falsely accuse him of domestic violence and get into a VAWA shelter. The shelter would help me file a VAWA self-petition for a U.S. green card. We, my sons and I, would then pretend to be domestic violence victims and exploit the U.S. social system paid for by the U.S. taxpayer. My sons and I will have the green card in no time. After going out with a few victim candidates that frankly were too disgusting for me to get involved with, I finally met Al, an engineer, musician, a quiet, easygoing guy who said he was looking to start a new family. I played the victim role and repeatedly told him I had been abused. I made sure he knew I was interested in him. I called him several times a day and wrote hundreds of emails to convince him that I am a woman with great values and that I too was looking to start a new family. In order for him not to suspect anything, I repeatedly said that I didn't mind going back to Mexico if things didn't work out. In the beginning of 2006, my divorce became final and I moved in with Al. Al took care of everything, bills, food, and all the expenses, schools for my sons and our medical expenses. I continued my act of a woman in love. I also put a lot of effort into playing the role of the perfect housewife. However, acting around the clock is not easy, and I started having stomach issues. Again, Al took care of everything. Al took me to the doctors. Al took me to the emergency room several times. Al got me to a hospital and stayed by my bed before and after the surgeries. Then I broke my leg, and again Al took care of everything. Then I wanted a couple of cosmetic surgeries, and again Al took care of everything, including the cost. And all the while, I kept playing the role of a victim, acting as being in love with Al and playing the role of a perfect housewife. I pretended to be in love with Al for 3 whole years. I repeatedly told Al that I dreamed of being his wife. In return, Al treated me like a real wife and took excellent care of me and my sons. At the end of 2008, having known Al for 3 years, I begged him to marry me. My oldest son had gone back to Mexico, and I insisted that I needed to visit him there, and for that I would need legal papers. Al, being the good man that he is, agreed.